The rusted sword that killed a giant. An Edo folk tale. Prologue, the Song of Old Weapons. In the ancient kingdom of Benin, before the great moats were dug and the brass plaques shone in the king's court, there lived a humble blacksmith named Amareg. His forge sat at the edge of Ugbowo village, and while other smiths boasted of shining spears and polished blades, Amareg's work was slow, meticulous, and often dismissed as too old-fashioned. In those days, the land trembled under the shadow of Akwo Ikimen, a giant from the northern hills whose footsteps cracked the earth. He demanded tribute from every village, goats, palm wine, cowries, and if displeased, he would carry away cattle, and sometimes people. The Oba had sent warriors before, but none returned. One night, as Amareg worked late, an old man appeared in the doorway of his forge. His back was bent like a bow, his eyes deep as moonlit wells. He carried in his hand a rusted sword, its blade chipped, its handle wrapped in crumbling leather. "Old man, this sword has slept for 200 seasons. It was forged in blood, bathed in truth, and cursed by a liar. Only a heart without pride can wake it again." The old man placed the sword on Amareg's anvil and vanished into the smoke. Part 1, The Challenge of the Giant. 3 moons later, news came that Akwo Ikimen was marching toward Ugbowo. The ground shook with every step, the birds fled the sky, and the wind carried his booming voice. "Bring me 20 jars of palm wine and a maiden to dance for me, or I will turn your village to dust." The elders called an urgent meeting in the village square. Warriors sharpened their spears, hunters strung their bows, but everyone knew, no weapon had ever pierced the giant's skin. Amareg, who rarely spoke in such gatherings, stepped forward holding the rusted sword. "Amareg, I will face him." The crowd erupted in disbelief. "Face him? With that scrap of iron?" Even the elders shook their heads. But Amareg was not deterred. The night before the battle, he sat by the forge, whispering to the sword, oiling it with palm kernel, and humming an old blacksmith's chant. "Fire remembers, iron remembers, the hand that shapes in truth." Part 2, The Path to Courage. On the morning of the fight, Amareg walked alone toward the hill where the giant waited. Each step was heavy with fear, but he remembered the old man's words, "Only a heart without pride can wake it." The journey took him through the forest of whispers, where ancient trees bent low to speak warnings of failure. The river Omeid, whose spirit rose in the form of a beautiful woman, offering him escape if he abandoned his quest. The red earth plain, where vultures circled overhead as if they already smelled death. At each test, Amareg refused to give up, speaking only truth to those he met, even when admitting his own fear. Part 3, The Battle. When he reached the hill, the giant laughed so loudly that stones rolled from the mountain. "Giant, you bring me a toy." Amareg gripped the rusted sword. It looked dull, but when he swung it, the blade glowed faintly, not with light, but with memory. The fight was long, brutal. The giant's club shattered trees, and Amareg dodged until his body ached. Then, at the moment the giant lifted his foot to crush him, the sword seemed to move on its own, guiding Amareg's hand to strike. The blade slid between the giant's ribs like water finding its path. There was no roar, only a sigh, the sigh of something ancient being set free. The giant collapsed, his body turning into red dust that blew away on the wind. Part 4, The Secret of the Sword. As Amareg stood panting, the old man from the forge appeared once more. "Old man, this sword does not kill by strength but by truth. Long ago, it belonged to a warrior who lied to save his pride. The gods cursed it to rust until wielded by one who fears neither death nor truth." The old man touched the sword, and it crumbled into harmless flakes of rust. The weapon had done its work. Epilogue, The Moral. Amareg returned to Ugbowo with only his word as proof of the victory. Some doubted him, but the land was free from the giant's terror. He told the villagers, "A weapon is only as strong as the truth in the hand that holds it. Pride blinds, but truth cuts through even the hardest skin." The story became a proverb in Edo lands. The rusted blade of truth is sharper than the polished sword of lies. Moral lesson. True strength lies not in how sharp a weapon appears, but in the honesty and humility of the one who wields it. Pride destroys, but truth endures.